This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Well, we are in Halloween season. With that conjures up images and thoughts of spirits and ghosts and things like that. Do they exist? That's the question today. We're going to dig into that, maybe get some answers from somebody who is intuitive, has a deep connection to the spiritual side, if you will. I've experienced it, by the way. Also, she practices hypnotherapy and Reiki and past life regression and so much more, even tarot cards, reading them, and much more. Adrianne Smith is back with us. How are you doing today?
Hey, Steve, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. It's funny this comes up today because I was driving yesterday and this song came on my playlist by the Police and it's called Spirits in the Material World. Came out like
hmm
early 80s. I remember and I got to say the title of the album now that it popped in my head. The album was called Ghosts in the Machine. Song Spirits in the Material
Yes.
World. There's a lot of other great
Yep.
songs on there too. I happen to like that
Great
one.
album.
Yeah.
Great album. Love it. Yep.
Are there spirits in the material world?
Well, I would say the answer to that in short is yes and no. They are in our world. They do interact with our world, but they are not material themselves. So they do have
Hmm.
an impact on us in the material world, but they kind of vibrate at a different frequency than we do, because they do not have a physical material body.
So when we say spirit or spirits, how do we define what that is?
Oh, that's a really broad umbrella term. So when we say spirits, a lot of people think of ghosts, which I would refer to as earthbound spirits. So that would be the spirit of a person, or even the fragment of a person's spirit that was kind of fractured off and left behind in this earth realm, kind of bound to this earth realm when that person's body passes on, when that person crosses over. They don't necessarily leave where they were. So that can happen for any number of reasons. Traumatic death, not knowing that you've died, all sorts of different things, or maybe just having a really strong attachment to the place where you are. Like, for example, you built this house with your hands. You and your husband built this house with your own hands. And so you kind of have a vested interest in making sure that it's always safe and always well taken care of. And you really just loved it and had a connection to it. That's something that can make a person want to stay, their spirit stay after their body has passed on. So then, that spirit umbrella can cover things like that. Earthbound spirits can also cover other spirits that, might just be different entities, different types of interdimensional beings. There's a lot of rabbit holes to go down with this one.
I get you. I get you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe you refer to spirit guides or
Mhm.
spirit team in the past.
Yeah.
Is that different than those who have passed over and their spirit, their energy? Are they separate or can they be the same?
So it is similar, except that our spirit guides, our spirit helpers, whatever, team of spirits choose to be with us to guide us through this lifetime. Um, they are spirits who have not become trapped in the earthbound realm, but have moved on, have ascended, have kind of crossed over into that more light being state where they are able to still interact with us, but they're not bound to being trapped in a particular place. Like, around this time of year, we see a lot of things about haunted houses and, all the spooky Halloween type of stuff that goes on. So I would say that the spirits we're talking about when we say, like, oh, a house is haunted and, Mrs. So and so is still there, or, there's a little kid that likes to go play around at night and turn on music boxes, or, whatever it is. Those spirits are not the ones that are part of our spirit team, our spirit helpers. They're the ones that are sort of more trapped and caught in a loop of what they were doing when they were in that particular lifetime. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, and I've heard that before, where try and describe this the best way I can. Somebody passes, but they haven't reached their destination. It's almost as if they're in the middle, you know,
Right,
they're in the
right.
middle, and it could take decades before they eventually, and I don't want to call it purgatory, but somewhere, they're in a holding tank, but they're somewhere
We're kind of in limbo.
in limbo. Thank you. That's probably the
Yeah,
best
yeah, yeah.
layman's
There you
term.
go.
Yeah. And I've heard that
Hmm.
and some are looking for help to get to the other side, but
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be on the other side and pull them over. I don't know. That's what I
Right.
mean. The things I
No, I
hear.
mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, there are plenty of us who will assist those spirits in crossing over. And, we can do it here from the physical realm. Those of us who are able to see, hear, interact with those spirits can kind of talk to them and be like, "Hey, so what's holding you up here? What's happened to you that you can't let go of?" Help them let go of it. It's almost like, therapy for ghosts. And and then you're able to then help that individual, cross over and let go of whatever it was that was holding them to this earth realm, and allow their spirit to cross over to the other side and kind of, release them from that limbo, that loop that they're caught in. Um, and, sometimes it's relatively easy. Sometimes they just need a little bit of encouragement and to know what's going on. And sometimes it's a little harder. Sometimes it's more tricky if someone really has a deep attachment to something and they don't want to let go of it. Some of them can be pretty stubborn, like the guy in my saloon. We won't talk about that. There's the old homesteader that built the homestead cabin that's on my ranch. He's still there. He doesn't want to go. He built that place with his own two hands and he doesn't want to leave.
Why
He's
would
kind of
they?
cranky.
That I could see that. This is my place. I'm
Yeah.
staying here. Um, so that said, how do you know, number one, that he's still hanging around?
Mhm.
Number two, what would what would get them to go? Or if their spirit doesn't want to go, they're not going.
Right, right. I mean, like I said, it can be challenging sometimes. I know he's still hanging around there because I can feel his energy. I can hear him say
Mm.
things. But that's me. As far as someone who, maybe hasn't honed their own psychic abilities to the point that they can see and hear things like that. Um, which, it's just very common for us to have some sort of sense, kind of like in the movie The Sixth Sense, the way the little boy, Haley Joel Osment's character describes it is, he's talking to Bruce Willis's character and he says, when you feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and that chill in the room, he says that's them, right? That's pretty accurate. Like even, in layman's terms, if you kind of have that prickly feeling on the back of your neck, or you feel a chill in the room, or you just kind of have a feeling that something's there, something's off, you're usually right. That's usually what it is precisely. And then dogs, cats, animals are very perceptive of that stuff too, especially cats. They have vision that can see those things much better than we can. My dogs do it too. Like my dogs will not go in to that cabin. They will stand at the gate or at the door. He has like saloon doors that swing, like old West saloon style, and they'll stand right there and look in, and they'll look back in the corner where you feel the feeling that someone is standing there, and they'll just like look back there, and then they'll kind of like whine and turn tail and run off. They won't go in because he doesn't like dogs in there.
Wow.
It's just
I-
strange. Yeah.
is there anything that like we've talked about getting rid of negative energy, saging,
Mhm.
smudging, all that kind of stuff? Can you do that in this instance, or this is way ahead of that? There's this way beyond that kind of thing.
Yeah, like I said, some of them can be easy to deal with like that. Some of them can, you can kind of smudge, sage, whatever, just kind of encourage them to move on, and they will. But some of them, like this guy in particular, he's not affected by that whatsoever. He's very deeply locked into that place. And so I'm going to have to do, if I want to help him move on, which he doesn't want to, he just flat out doesn't want to move on. But if I were to try to convince him, it would take a great deal of like actually sitting down and having a conversation and trying to convince him that he can leave that place and it will be safe and it's okay, that he can rest and he can move on and go on with his existence, life, whatever you want to call it, elsewhere. you know
So, gotta ask this question. Can he hear you and see
oh
you?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yep, no question about it. And as a matter of fact, we may have talked about this before, but for listeners who might be tuning in for the first time, I live on a ranch that is kind of a historic property. It's in the Colorado Rockies. It was first homesteaded by this particular man, Mr. Hayworth, in the late 1860s. That particular cabin was built in 1870, and it was restored a few years before we bought the property. It was restored into an Old West style saloon. So it's been very lovingly preserved and it's in beautiful shape. This property in general has a lot of spirits. It's got a lot of history.
Mm.
So him in particular, like I sometimes have taken people on tours of the property. We've even done a fundraiser for the local historical society here, where we talk about the history of the ranch, the history of the town, how it was founded, and all of this. And I'll go into the saloon sometimes and be talking to someone about the history of the property, and he'll full on just interject and start like talking over me. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm telling the story. I'll tell them what you want me to. Don't worry. And then of course people think that I'm absolutely bat crazy. But but yeah, it's definitely something he can see, hear, interact with anyone who comes into that place.
Doesn't this creep you out?
Sometimes, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Every once in a while I kind of get a little weirded out, but for the most part, like I have made peace with the spirits that are here on this ranch, most especially the Ute spirits that are on the land. And, they weren't real happy to see someone who looks like me coming onto the property at first. But after doing work and, kind of letting them get to know me and to see my heart and know that my interest in this place is simply being a good steward of the land and protecting this land, conserving it, allowing it to be as natural and wild as it has always been. They kind of they had a greater respect for that. And I would like to say now that, we've even become friends. And so I don't get creeped out by
Mm.
those spirits anymore, but every once in a while I'll go somewhere and I'll encounter something that really does creep me out. And
So how do we know? Like, let's
Mhm.
say you move into a house, you don't really know the full history, or let's say you renting a place.
Mhm.
It could have been dozens of people living there prior to you, over a
Sure.
period of time. Is there anything that we can do to see if there are spirits in the material world, if there's, something floating around out there?
Absolutely. So, the first thing I always recommend whenever you move into a new house or just as like general maintenance in the home that you're in is to go ahead and do that smudging. The sage, the Palo Santo, whatever it is that you choose to use, sweetgrass, all of these things are wonderful for cleansing the energy and just kind of clearing the air in general. So you go in and you kind of can do that first and just see where you're at after that. And then you'll start to notice if there are spirits there that didn't leave with the smudging. Usually those are the ones that are very connected to the property. Hopefully they're not dark entities, which is those are the ones that creep me out, but not like in a way of being afraid of them because I've dealt with this so much that it doesn't really phase me that much anymore. But there's some that definitely have a creepy vibe. So you'll kind of feel the difference. You know, if you get that good baseline of cleansing the house, and then you kind of, as you're going about your business, you might feel a presence behind you and feel like, oh, somebody's standing in the room with me. And you turn around and there's no one physically there. You know, you can kind of get a feeling for what that energy is. Does it feel like a man or a woman? Does it feel like a child? Does it feel like it's, curious or happy? Or, you kind of get that impression and go from there. On the flip side of that, you might get a feeling of like, oh my gosh, this thing is really creeping me out and this doesn't feel right at all. And
Hmm.
in that case, then it's time to, bring in the big guns. And if you're not well versed in, banishing those type of entities yourself, call in someone who is.
So when you smudge, when you sage,
Mhm,
Palo Santo, whatever you're doing,
mhm.
how is it that you may not have gotten it all? Or could they have come back? Like, let's say, I want this whole area. I'm going to cleanse it. Start almost like wiping the slate. And then
Yeah,
do you need to do it again? Should you just do it again as a precaution in case you didn't get it all the first time or the second time or whatever it is? I struggle with that. And,
yeah,
and honestly, I'm going to do that after we get off here. I'm not even kidding. There's a few reasons. Not that I'm experiencing spirits or anything like that, but just the energy and the, when
yeah.
you're around people, just want to make sure it's clean. Um,
Yes,
I'm going
yes.
to
It's
do it.
like basic hygiene for your
That's it. I'm
environment.
taking it.
It's
My
like
my
you wash your
studio.
hands, you brush your teeth, you cleanse your house. It's kind of the same thing. You
Th-
got to,
This, th-
wipe down your kitchen counters and scrub your toilets on a
yeah.
regular basis. It's the same kind of thing.
I'm taking a
And
studio shower. That's what we're doing here. This is a studio
right, there
shower.
you go. There you go. Studio shower. Just turn the camera off, please. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. No, so yeah, like that is definitely something that I recommend doing on a regular basis
Okay.
because, things tend to come in. So you can smudge. And by the way, important to note, always open the windows when you're smudging, open the windows and doors so that whatever is in there can get out. If you lock it in there and you smudge, then you've just got these things kind of going parkour all around the room. They're not going to go anywhere. They're just going to get agitated. And that can actually make things worse.
So
So let
so
them out.
quite question on that. I have I think it's Palo Santo spray.
Uh-huh.
I think so. Could be sage.
Yeah,
Wonder it does it make a difference in terms of which you use, which spray. I could light a stick of sage, but I have people using the studio next door later on today, and I don't want them. What's that smell? Because it's a little bit of an
right.
odor. It doesn't bother me at all. Um, all the windows they don't open. So, and the
Okay.
door leads to a hallway, which then leads to an elevator, blah, blah, blah. Can I just open that
Sure.
door and accomplish the same thing?
You can, it's always better if there is some sort of an exit to the outside, but in the case of like a building like that, it would be just as easy to just open the door and then after you're done with the spray, because the spray will work just as well as the smoke does. And Palo Santo is great for just cleansing negative energies and bringing in the positive ones. So, what I like to do after that, especially in that case, where you don't really have an exit to the outside and it might just be kind of lingering around the hallway, you can do the hallway if you wanted to, just to give yourself a buffer zone. But you can also seal the doorway. And I do recommend doing that, like say you're smudging your home. go ahead and do the whole house, open the windows and doors, do the whole house from bottom to top, and then get everything out, and then go back through and seal the doorway. And you can do that either with just the intention of a hand gesture. You can do that by laying a line of salt across the threshold. Salt has always historically been used for kind of keeping out, keeping a boundary, keeping out any kind of negative entities and things like that.
Mm.
So if you want to get the bad juju out, do your smudging, do your spraying, whatever it is you need to do, and then do some kind of a barrier at the door. You can grid with crystals. That's another really good one too. Certain types of crystals are great to use. I really like to use selenite, black tourmaline, sometimes obsidian if there's an entity that is needing to really be cut loose of a place. You think about obsidian arrowheads, spearheads, stuff like that.
Mm.
That'll cut that energy free and repel it from coming back.
Whoa. when
Yeah.
when somebody close to you passes,
Mhm.
even if it's been decades, is their energy still around you?
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times. And, in the case of a loved one that's passed on, a lot of times they'll come and just kind of check up on you. And because they love you and they're still being present for you in the only way that they can.
Mm.
And, like my dad passed on in January of 2020. And so we're going on what, 5 years? Is that 5 years? Yeah. And I still feel him around a lot. Like for example, my second oldest son just started driving, and my mom gave him my dad's old car to drive.
Oh, wow.
She's Yeah, so he's driving around his grandpa's car, and the first time I took him driving in it, I smelled my dad's cologne in the back seat and could feel his presence there and feel him laughing at our jokes and stuff like this. And so I kind of knew. I was like, okay, cool, dad's here. He's watching out for us, and he's making sure that my son takes good care of his car, and 'cause he loved that car.
Wow.
So yeah.
I believe in it. I've shared my mom passed 6 years ago, and I feel it. And it's been a while. I'm overdue to ask her for a specific sign, but when I do, I get them. And they'll come like immediately, but they come. I get them, but I'm overdue, but I just enjoy
Yeah.
the reassurance. And I could be even driving down the road and be thinking of her, not even asking for a sign, and then look up and there would be her name is Rose. I would see a road sign called Rose Street or something like that.
Uh-huh. Gosh,
Honestly,
how did I know you were going to say that?
it,
That's
it
beautiful.
it's gotten to the point where I don't get wowed anymore. It's just like, well, there it is. And I need to say to
Mhm.
myself, holy blank, look at that. I just saw it. What are the chances of that? No, no. There's
Right. No,
reason
there's
for
no
it.
coincidences.
There aren't any.
Yeah.
There aren't
Yeah,
any.
yeah, it's true. And, honestly, like this time of year is a good time to kind of connect with her and do stuff like that. So anyone, like there's a reason why, Halloween is the spooky season. And if you look at the Mexican culture with Dia de los Muertos, and they leave out the ofrenda with the offerings for the ancestors and the pictures of the ancestors that
Is
have
that
crossed
Day of the
over.
Dead?
Day of the Dead. Yep, Dia
Which
de
is
los
I
Muertos.
believe it's coming up. I think it's early
It is.
November. But the thing is, that's a celebration. We look at the
Yeah.
passing of somebody, sad, and I get it. Um, they go to the cemetery and it's a party, man.
It is. Yeah. Then they celebrate the lives of their loved ones who have crossed over. And so we kind of do something similar here in our household. Obviously I'm not Latina or anything like that, but I do feel a connection to that. And I understand why that is such a celebration.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's something that bears it has a lot of weight to it when you can really celebrate and appreciate your loved ones who have crossed over. And being that their spirits are still with us, watching over us, accompanying us through our day to day sometimes, it's just great to acknowledge them. and to kind of, leave out some of their favorite foods or, something like this, and maybe put up a picture of them and leave a little dish of, something that they really enjoyed. Um, like for example, my dad couldn't go without his pumpkin pie on Christmas and Thanksgiving. That was his big, he had to have the pumpkin pie. Every once in a while, we'd be like, oh, maybe we should make something else. No, we have to have the pie for dad. So maybe leave a piece of that out in front of a picture. So things like this,
100%.
just a way, yeah, just a way of like kind of giving a gesture of appreciation, gratitude, love, and showing that they're still in your heart. Because really, when someone crosses over, that's where they'll always live regardless if
In
their
your heart.
body is still with us or not. They'll always be in our hearts.
Raspberry Danish twist, my mom's favorite,
Nice.
on her birthday.
Nice.
Always buy it. And if I'm in the store and I happen to look down, I believe it, they don't always have it, especially this one brand. When it's there, I buy it because
Yeah.
there's a reason I'm seeing it because again, it's not always
Mhm.
there. Um, I mean, I know we pivoted from hypnotherapy, Reiki, intuitive card reading and all of that, a little bit different today, but that's the stuff you do offer and provide insight on a
Uh-huh.
lot of this stuff. Best
I do.
way
Yeah.
to reach you, by the way, how do we do that?
Yeah. So I'm on Facebook at Wild Heart Healing, and my website is wildhearthealingco.com.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but your middle name and your last name essentially was my mom's. I'm not
That's
kidding.
awesome. I love
I
it.
can't make that up.
I love it.
Her maiden name and her middle name was Anne, and you spell
Oh
it the
my
same
gosh.
way. Can't make that up.
Love it.
Spirits and material world. Thank you for today and all the insight. I gotta go sage. I'm on it.
Yeah, there you go. Get that Palo Santo out.
All
All
right. We'll talk
right.
soon, okay?
Okay, great
You
to see
too.
you, Steve. Have a good one.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.